Hello guys, good morning everyone. Welcome to 21st Century IAS Academy online Indian economy classes. We are in the chapter of taxation and fiscal system. Almost all we are in the ending part of this chapter. So I think in the last class I have started the FRBM, that is Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. So before we continue this, let me tell you one thing. What exactly this fiscal responsibility? So last time we have seen the deficit parts of the budget. When I was speaking of this deficit, I also talked about fiscal deficit, which implies the total borrowings of the government in a particular fiscal year or in a particular financial year is called as fiscal deficit. When the government is borrowing the money, the government must also have the responsibility to spend that money efficiently. Otherwise, there is no point of having a government in any country. So, this fiscal responsibility and budget management, once upon a time, the governments never followed. They used to borrow the money from RBI. They used to spend the money without any proper accountability and transparency, and how much the government is borrowing, how much the next year borrowing should be, there is no structure for it. There was no institutionalizing these spendings and borrowings of the government. So but one fine day, especially after the reforms 1991, by the time we turned into 2002 2003, the parliament thought of this thing. Whenever the government wants to borrow the money from RBI, there has to be a structure for it. So without that structure or without that proper institutionalizing, without law backing, the government will never get this fiscal discipline. Because whenever the government is spending the money for the people, each and every rupee is important. Because each and every rupee that the government is spending for the people goes in terms of development or in terms of social welfare. So in that context, the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act was made. It was actually to institutionalize the financial discipline, and from now onwards, whenever the government wants to spend the money, it has to be according to the rules of this act. So I already discussed the objectives of this particular act, but let me come to the point. FRBM Act, the main objective is reduce the fiscal deficit. So last time I explained this concept also. Fiscal deficit, it should not be eliminated. Okay, there is one word which you need to understand in the examination point of view, that is called fiscal consolidation. Fiscal consolidation means making the revenue deficit zero and reducing the fiscal deficit in a comfortable percentage. Generally, the comfortable percentage of the fiscal deficit, it is said, that is 3% of GDP. The fiscal deficit in the year of 2019-20 revised estimates, that is 3.8%. In 2021, the budget estimates is 3.5%. And the Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister of the country, had also set a target for the 2019-20 year. The fiscal deficit should be 3.3%. But unfortunately, we never reached this target. Now the fiscal deficit is above 4%. So as I told you, this FRBM bill, initially it was introduced in the year of 2000 itself by Atal Bihari Vajpayee government. But finally it was passed in the year of 2003. So what exactly this act says? It is an act which set the targets for the government of India to establish the financial discipline and also improve the management of the public funds and strengthening the fiscal prudence and also reducing the deficits. So as I told you, this is one of the important points that we must remember. So as I already pointed this out earlier, what is the importance of this FRBM Act? The primary objective is eliminating the revenue deficit, this one. అంటే రెవెన్యూ డెఫిసిట్ మస్ట్ బి జీరో. సో టు bring the revenue deficit, what we have to do, either we have to reduce the revenue expenditure or we have to increase the revenue income. On the both fronts the government will take the necessary measures. And not only that, reducing the fiscal deficit. In some books it's been written like eliminating the revenue deficit and fiscal deficit. That is a very wrong thing. You cannot eliminate the fiscal deficit. It's not like you cannot, you should not. Always having fiscal deficit is good. So meeku ippudu koncham you may be thinking very surprisingly, or you may be thinking awkward, why I am saying deficit is good, right? So this might be the doubt to you. So generally it is always said surplus is always good, but what I am telling you now, the deficit is actually good. Especially when it comes to the fiscal deficit, it is said fiscal deficit is always good. Fiscal deficit should be there. So without fiscal deficit it is not that, what you say, it is not that good that you can run the economy. Why? I will tell you. First of all, why the fiscal deficit should be there. So this is a very important point that we must understand. See this, for example, if I ask you this question, what is the end to development? What is the end? The answer would be null, right? There is no end to development. You cannot say I have reached 100% of development in my society. So this is impossible scenario. Even if all the people gets what they want, but still there is a room for the development, because development is eternal, it is unlimited, it is infinite. For example, today if you say American society is 100% developed, no, there is still room for development. Even if all the people are getting what they want, 100% of the people, they have free education, they have health facilities, they have other services, they have good drinking water, good amount of air to breathe, they have all economically good prospects, but still there is a room for development, because you have to maintain it also. Even if you reach 100% of education, you have to maintain it for the next generations, right? So there is no end for development. So the point is here, if for example government is getting 1000 rupees, and if the government is only spending this 1000 rupees, it's not that good actually. The government should borrow and it should spend 200 rupees for the extra creation of assets. Extra creation of assets. So this extra 200 rupees is nothing but what? This is deficit. And why actually you are putting your budget in deficit? To create extra assets and to create extra infrastructure, to create new innovative technologies. So when you do this, and when you borrow something 200 rupees or something, and when you are using this for extra assets, the government will be on its toes. అంతేనా? ఎందుకు అంటే ఎప్పుడైతే డెఫిసిట్ ఉందో ఆల్వేస్ యూ విల్ బీ అలర్ట్. అంటే మీరు ఎప్పుడైతే డెఫిసిట్ని పట్టుకొచ్చారో మీరు ఏమనుకుంటారు? సో వెన్ ఎవర్ యూ బ్రింగ్ ద డెఫిసిట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ హియర్, the fiscal deficit, it may cause macroeconomic instability, but fiscal deficit, it has the ability to increase the demand in the economy. Why? Because you are spending more money by borrowing. When you are spending more money, which means more demand means more GDP. Ante the spending level of the government, it actually increases with the fiscal deficit. So some people say fiscal deficit itself is a very much flawed concept. There is one person called former executive of the World Bank, he is Ram Gopal Agarwal. He said fiscal deficit is actually a flawed concept. Fiscal deficit should be there. Whenever there is a deficit, the government can create more extra assets, right? So UPSC may ask you this question also, is fiscal deficit good or bad? So definitely it is good if it is in the limits. Definitely it is bad if it crosses the limits. So they may ask you this question also, why fiscal deficit should be at 3% of GDP? If it is in 3% of GDP, the government is in a very comfortable position, right? So why fiscal deficit is important is simply it gives you the government the extra borrowing capability so that the government can spend more money in the line of its commitments in a financial year. So definitely to expand the policies of the government, especially such as the welfare programs and public works, without raising the taxes or cutting the budget elsewhere, the fiscal deficit, it encourages the motivated, economically and politically motivated options. So definitely, for example, if the government wants to spend, if the government wants to bring some new policies, without deficit, without borrowing, it has to cut the expenditure of some other programs. But without cutting the expenditure of other programs, right, you can bring new policies such as welfare programs and public works by borrowing the money. Remember, for example, you have 1 lakh rupees as salary. Every month you are receiving 1 lakh rupees salary. But every month you are borrowing 50,000 rupees and you are investing in somewhere else. Because of that 50,000 rupees, you are getting an extra 20,000 rupees profit. Now tell me, is this borrowing is good or bad? Every month you are getting 1 lakh. Apart from this, you are borrowing 50,000 rupees. Because of this borrowing, you have invested somewhere else. For example, you are investing in the stock markets, and you are a very capable guy to retrieve the profits all the time from the stock markets. So 50,000 rupees, because of this, every month you are getting 20,000 rupees as profit. Now tell me, this 50,000 rupees is a good borrowing or bad borrowing? It's a good borrowing. Or else, I'll tell you the second scenario. You are getting 1 lakh rupees as salary, 50,000 rupees you are borrowing. You are simply using this money to play the cards, and every time you are losing the money. Now this is a good borrowing or bad borrowing? Bad borrowing. So when you are building assets or when you are getting returns because of your borrowing, that's a good thing. When you are getting nothing because of your borrowing, that's a bad thing. So in the government also this is the same thing. If the government is borrowing in terms of the fiscal deficit, if it is using for the productive purposes, it's a good thing. So fiscal deficit is always expand the government's expenditure, and also always it gives a chance for the government to expand the popular policies such as welfare programs and the public works without raising the taxes. For example, if the government wants to spend more money, it has to increase the taxes. But without raising the taxes, how the government can spend more money? By borrowing. That is called deficit. But the deficit, it should be under a control. It should be in our line, right? So that is a very important thing. So that should be in the 3% of GDP. If it is under this 3% of GDP, it is quite good. So long-term macroeconomic stability is important under the FRBM. Apart from that, debt management, greater transparency. Target was to eliminate this to 3% of GDP. But unfortunately, we couldn't do it. But అది ఎలా పెట్టుకున్నామంటే మనం to reduce the deficit as a ratio of GDP, it should be brought down by 0.5% every year. And for example, in 2019, if the fiscal deficit is 3.5%, in 2020 it should be 3.0%. And fiscal deficit, it should be reduced by 0.3. So this is actually talking about revenue deficit. So this is actually talking about fiscal deficit. So revenue deficit, it should be brought down by 0.5%, and altogether we should eliminate the revenue deficit. Revenue deficit is not good. Revenue deficit ante enti? Revenue expenditure minus revenue income. Revenue expenditure means what? Completely consumption. It won't create any assets. So revenue deficit should be 0. But whereas fiscal deficit, it should be in the comfortable position, that is 3% of GDP. So by the end of 2008, we should bring this to 3% of GDP. But unfortunately, we couldn't meet the targets because in 2008 there was a crisis. And the total liabilities of the government should not rise more than 9% per year. And the total liability of the government, it should not be more than 9% of the budget. And the union government should not give guarantee to the land raised by the PSUs and the state governments for more than 0.5% of GDP in the aggregate. And how much the state governments can borrow? Only they can borrow up to 0.5% of the GDP in their aggregate. And if they are getting 100 rupees as GDP, they can only get 50 paisa. So దీన్ని కోట్లలో వేయండి. 100 కోట్లు అంటే మీకు ఎంత వస్తుంది? సో సమ్వేర్ అరౌండ్ 5,000 crores కైండ్ ఆఫ్ థింగ్. సో లైక్ దట్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ద మెయిన్ పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ ద FRBM. So in the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act, fiscal deficit once upon a time it went up by 9%, and as part of the debt GDP ratio it is 87%. So debt అనేది కూడా మనకు ఒకటి ఉంటుంది. This generally we call it as internal debt. అంటే since 1947 till 2020 the government of India borrows every year the money, right? And for example in 2010 the government borrowed X. In 2011 how much? X plus extra amount Y, right? In 2012 X plus Y plus Z. In 2020 X plus Y plus and so on plus A. So something like this. So ante ikkada 1 plus 1 2, ikkada 2 plus 1 3. So it will increase, keep on increasing. So the whole thing is called as debt. The money that you are borrowing only this year is called as fiscal deficit. And this year you are borrowing only 5. Last time the total borrowings were 100. So debt means 105. Fiscal deficit means this year means it is only 5. Right? So likewise, debt we calculate as percentage of total GDP. So how much total debt we have? 87% of GDP. But internal debt, it doesn't matter. External debt, it might be a problem which I have explained in the balance of payments chapter. But internal debt, actually it's not a big problem, because if the government is borrowing and if it is increased by 90% also, still the government will be able to give it back. It is in that position because government has good amount of taxes it is getting, right? And also government is having a quite capable economy which is very productively running. So manaki ivanni kuda positives. So the government itself or the economy itself, it is in a very safe position. So when it is in a safe position, how much the debt is increasing, it doesn't matter, but it should be under control. It shouldn't go beyond 100%. So it should be in that range itself. As I told you, fiscal deficit should be in the range of around 3%. So likewise, the total debt of the government also, it should be in the range of less than 100% of GDP, because anything which is always beyond 100%, which is always bad. And for example, మీకు debt ఎంత ఉందంటే 110% of GDP. So it doesn't sounds good, right? So that is one thing. So the next part is, as part of this FRBM Act, what actually the government do and how it actually controls this particular GDP. Sorry, fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP. సో ఇదొకటి మనం అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి. అంటే ఎలా కంట్రోల్ చేస్తుంది అంటే, ఫస్ట్ థింగ్ ఏంటంటే, the parliament has to give some statements. I mean the government has to give some statements in the parliament. So aventante 3 annual statements ఉంటాయి. But before I go into this, let me give you some clarity, even more clarity on this FRBM Act. So FRBM Act, first of all, let us understand the features even more succinctly. First of all, to reduce the deficit, annual targets will be there. And annually, how much the deficit should be decreased. Okay. So I told you annually, revenue deficit, it should be decreased by 0.5%. Fiscal deficit should be decreased by 0.3%. And by the end of 2008, we should eliminate this fiscal deficit. One second. I lost it somewhere. Okay. Anyway, I'll write one more time. So FRBM Act 2003. So this annual targets. So revenue deficit, decrease it by 0.5%. Fiscal deficit, decrease it by 0.3%. Okay. So we had put some targets like 2008 and 2009, but unfortunately we couldn't get it because of some other problems. సో థర్డ్ వన్ ఏంటంటే there is a cap on total liability of the government. Cap on total liability and how much government can borrow. For example, imagine 2020 elections are going on. So in 2000, for example, now the BJP is in ruling. Let's think like in 2021 the elections are to be held. But now what BJP will do, it will borrow more money to give it to the people so that it can be elected again. Even if it is elected again, it will increase the inflation. Even if it is not electing, for example, some other party is coming to the power, it would be a burden on that party. So kabatti manam em cheyali, first we should remove this. So we should put a cap on the total liability of the government. As I told you, 9%, that is the total liability, and out of the total budget only you can borrow around 9%, kind of thing. And it also prohibits the government, the government to borrow from RBI, okay, by printing new money. It prohibited the government. So I told you this prohibition started from the 2006 itself. And not only that, for every quarter and on a quarterly basis, the government must provide necessary statements to the parliament how all these things are going on. So దీని గురించి it has to give some reports. Okay, generally we call them as assessment reports, అంటే quarterly assessment reports. So in that quarterly assessment reports part, let me show you something. So these are the things actually we need to provide. One is macroeconomic framework statement. There is one more thing that is called medium term fiscal policy statement and fiscal policy strategy statement. See, quarterly reports on fiscal development part. Alage revenue deficit eliminated. Okay, this is fine. There is one more statement that is called macroeconomic framework statements. Yeah, it is here itself. So this is one statement, this is second statement, this is third statement on a quarterly basis. So 4 quarters untai. Every year you have to give this. But unfortunately, none of these targets were met by the government because there was last point in the FRBM Act. Under exceptional circumstances, the government may be compelled to breach the targets. Ante it no need to follow any of these. So those compelled targets, actually those exceptional circumstances which compel the government, raised between 2008 and 2011 because of the economic crisis in the USA. And now due to COVID also we got some these compelled targets, exceptional circumstances which compel the government to breach the targets. So that exceptional circumstances, unfortunately, they are coming every time, always they are coming. So these exceptional circumstances, they are coming all the time, right? So this is another problem. So revenue deficit eliminated by 2019, originally 2009, that was a good thing. But unfortunately, where actually we are facing more problem, that is your fiscal deficit. And now the revenue deficit is also now, due to the COVID and all, the government is getting very less revenue. So we are facing this problem one more time, right? So this is part of your fiscal deficit and FRBM Act and fiscal consolidation. So as I already told you that this is one of the most important chapters of UPSC's Indian economy, because most of the questions that have been asked in the mains examination, they come mainly from 2 chapters. One is taxation and fiscal system, another one is monetary policy, because all the time the government is involved with these 2 things. Because monetary policy, it is always held for every 2 months. I told you it is a bi-monthly policy. And taxation and fiscal system, every year we get the budget, every year we get the economic survey, and every day the government will keep on changing some decisions, or it may be bringing some new projects, or it may be bringing some new social welfare programs. So one way or other, so you will get some decision from the government side. So either it may remove some tax, or either it may introduce some new tax, so kind of thing, right? So in that sense, this particular chapter is very important. And let me remind you what are the things which you need to follow in this. First of all, this diagram. I already explained you about this diagram: taxation structure in India, direct tax and indirect tax, and income tax, corporate tax, central tax, and state tax, especially when it comes to the indirect tax, GST. So there is a huge chance that this GST may be asked as an essay, because now today the GST is in all the time, it is in news. And we have also seen recently in the October, the collections of the GST has crossed 1 lakh crore, 1,05,000 crore and toche. And during the COVID time, almost all for 6 months or 7 months, the total collections of the GST, it went down, not only for the center but also for the states. And when it comes to the GST compensation also, most of the state governments, especially from the South India, they were not happy with the central government. And even the central government ordered some of the state governments or requested some of the state governments to borrow the money directly from the market instead of asking the government itself. So our context lo meeku GST ekkuva news lo vachindi. We have seen already this in the newspapers also. Many times I have discussed this. And apart from this, what is the other thing is income tax, capital gains tax, and like this, no? So which tax is contributing more? And whether it is income tax which is contributing more, whether it is corporate tax. All the time remember, either it will be IT or corporate tax. Rest of the tax, they will not be in the race. So in UPSC examination, they may ask you this question, whether it is income tax or corporate tax which is contributing more to the economy or which is contributing more to the receipts of the government. So this prelims lo ekku adutadu questions. So please remember this part also. And when it comes to the mains, this is more important, the fiscal policy of the government. So how actually the government is giving priority when it comes to the macroeconomic goals, and what is the trend in the government spending, as well as what kind of the programs that the government has introduced and how much allocations it is doing, with what purpose. So all these things you must know. So this is another thing that you need to focus on this chapter. Apart from this, budget. So this budget, whenever the new budget is introduced, so that time I will discuss anyway this budget, annual financial statement. So year budget already అయిపోయింది, ఇంకా కొత్త బడ్జెట్ రానుంది కాబట్టి, so once the budget comes, we will talk about this, because anytime the economic survey and budget I will only explain. So that time we will see with the latest statistics and these things. So you have to connect all this theoretical knowledge with the practical things. So apart from that, this diagram is very important. So last time I told you this many times. If you remember this diagram, most of this chapter itself is over. So budget, revenue receipts, capital receipts, plan and non-plan distinction is over now. There is only revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Now this is the new invention did by the government since 2017 year. So this is also another thing that you need to focus more, right? Apart from this, these numbers are not at all important. So some of the things like tax buoyancy, tax elasticity, Laffer curve, they are very important for the prelims examination. In the prelims point of view, they are very important. When it comes to the budget deficits, so in the deficits part, all of these are very much important in the mains point of view. So whenever you read anything about this deficit in the newspaper, always maintain a notes of it, because what I observed in the 2020 prelims examination is simply UPSC is taking one statement from the newspaper and it is making a question with that statement. So now this is the trend of UPSC. ఏం చేస్తుందంటే ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్స్లో మీకు ఇచ్చినటువంటి మ్యాగజైన్స్ ఏవైతే ఉంటారో మీరు చదువుతారు, విజన్ 365 ఇటువంటివి ఉంటాయి, ప్రిలిమ్స్ 365, ఇవేవి యూజ్లెస్ అని యూపీఎస్సీ తేల్చేసింది ఆల్మోస్ట్ దిస్ ఇయర్ పేపర్. సో నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ పేపర్ ఆల్సో ఇట్ విల్ బీ ఇన్ దిస్ వే. Always the UPSC will give the questions directly from the newspaper. So newspaper reading is very much important, especially as far as this economy is concerned, because most of the economic current affairs, they come in the newspaper and the questions will also be taken from the newspaper itself. So please follow the Hindu newspaper in that context. So that is about this chapter. So this is the end of this chapter. From tomorrow onwards, we will start a new chapter that is called budgeting. Already we have discussed the budget part in the taxation and fiscal system. So this is a chapter which is connected with this chapter, right? This is a chapter which is connected with this chapter. So that chapter will also be completed very soon. So by this time already 75% of the UPSC syllabus is completed to all of you. Only 25% is left, and they are very much unimportant topics except one chapter which is about foreign institutions or else international institutions like G20, G33, WTO. So a kind of questions will come. Anyway, you people have read all these things in the newspaper also. So rest of this 25% syllabus, it is very minuscule and we can complete it very faster. But this is the main syllabus. I mean mains as far as prelims, and I mean mains along with prelims, 75% of the syllabus is completed with this chapter, and rest of the 25% will also be completed very soon. Stay tuned with the 21st Century IAS Academy online classes. Thank you all of you. If you have any questions regarding of this, you can always message me. So that's it for today.